All right, guys, welcome to episode 6 of the List to Survive podcast. And today we are super thrilled to announce that we have two OGs in the business, Luka Maric and Greg Campbell. Quick little story on these two guys. We used to all work together. I mean, Mike kind of did too at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Only way to introduce guys is Greg is essentially the OG of real estate, also known as Big Stuff. Greg used to be, a rapper, song art?
Rapper, producer, DJ,
give me all your pitch.
Manager, everything.
Legit.
Yeah. Leader.
And Luka, ironically, both these guys now teamed up, which is kind of like a match made in heaven, in my opinion, as like an outsider seeing these two guys work together. When you guys both first started, both separately, and then seeing you guys together, it's kind of like what we're trying to do, but you guys may be like a couple years ahead. So how's that been? Just kind of you guys, I guess, Luka, introduce yourself.
Well, we're here, and we're much happier where we are now than where we were before, and onwards and upwards, shall we say? But yeah, I've been in the business about 4 or 5 years now, investing for a little bit longer than that. But I have a finance background, used to be in banking. Then I just realized didn't want anybody telling me what to do, and decided I wanted to be in charge of my own paycheck. Got into real estate, and then. Couple of years after being in the game, Greg and I decided to partner up, and now we're here.
Yes, Mike. I actually met him for the first time at a condo board meeting that went to 3 a.m. at the Slater.
Really?
And I don't think you had your license.
No, I didn't.
What a shit show.
Before, yeah.
Those condo meetings, you never attended these things, man. It went from 7 p.m. till 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on condo board and I quit after 3 months. I lasted 3 months.
Well, it's not paid, right? Like you don't get paid to be on the board, Mike.
And when you realize how a lot of the humans operate, you're just like, peace.
Yeah,
get me the fuck out of here.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how I met him.
Unfortunately, because it would be nice if everything was collaborative.
It was pretty much a hostage takeover. There was 2 lawyers that hated short-term rentals that lived in the building.
Yeah, the Airbnb.
And these guys went and collected. So to have quorum to be able to change stuff, I think was 109 people that needed to be present. I think we had 112. And these guys collected 45 proxy votes prior to the meeting starting. And they tried to make little changes to every single proposed change that they had, which was a ton of stuff. And they basically just weaned people out up until the point where they pretty much had majority to make whatever changes they wanted.
It was a shit show.
Yeah.
So and it took till 3 in the morning.
And
most people left after that.
Most people left couple hours into it because.
But did the board dissolve after that too, or
no?
Okay.
No, and there was 3 board members that stepped down, and these guys tried to hijack multiple board positions so that they could have 3 or more people to control essentially the building, which was just crazy.
What a fiasco!
It was ran super well, but the whole Airbnb thing, they were so upset about it. I get it a little bit, but it was ran so clean that as an investor specifically, but
and now you know to not join a condo board.
I'm telling you, don't do it. It's I don't see the appeal to it. Unless you're the president, but even then, it's you're what's the perks?
Well, the problem was with that building, they sold it to investors primarily.
Yeah, exactly.
Pre-construction with the notion of you can Airbnb in this building, which is why I think 50 out of the 170 something units they have in the building were all short-term Airbnb rentals that dwindled in numbers. So
happens quick though, the change of that.
Oh yeah.
Don't buy condos in those fucking buildings.
Funny enough, I actually met Greg. Remember I met you at the wedding before I joined real estate?
Yes.
He was fucking DJing for his wedding.
Yes.
That was
a great wedding.
That was a good night.
That was me being called in as a favor from the company that I started with my buddy Ryan. He's like, bro, I need a favor. I booked too many weddings. I need you. I'm like, what's the pay? He tells me, I'm like, okay, I will do this favor for you.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And we met. We sat at the same table.
Yeah.
And you because you figured out who I was and asked about Eric. We talked about Eric. And I remember who else was at that wedding. Matt Asaf was at that wedding.
Yeah.
But I remember that because it was one of the. Well, I mean, I'd done a lot of weddings at that point, obviously. But what I loved about that is the moment that the dance floor started, it stayed that way for like 3.5 hours, and it was
Animals.
just nonstop
Rock
all
solid.
night. It was amazing, super fun night.
It was a good setup. That was a fun night. Good introduction to you. And
Yeah,
right off the bat, I was like, "Fuck, I love this guy."
Because you were interviewing, I think, at the time. You didn't
Yeah.
know if you were going to come
Yeah.
to the agency.
Yeah.
I remember texting him like, "I just met Greg." He's like, he's a beauty," and then we spent the night. It was a sick night.
That was probably the
That was
best
a good
intro
time.
you could get. Seeing
For
him
sure.
like, in his element with the whole
Yeah.
DJ thing. And then
Yeah,
That's
seeing the
hilarious.
behind
jack
the
of all
scenes.
trades. Fuck, he's doing everything.
that was a good party for sure.
That's crazy. Those were Blue Panda. Actually, no, that was the agency.
That was.
But
the
you
agency.
two was Blue Panda when we all met.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's funny because when I met him at the condo board, I was like, save his name. I had his name in my CRM as like potential clients I knew he owned. Then he joined.
No
I was
way.
like, he joined Blue Panda. I'm like, okay, well, there goes that one.
Well,
I think
that-
Rachel, but
That's where I met Phil as well, actually. Because
Yeah, 'cause Phil-
Phil and his dad, I think, owned
Yep.
a couple of
Oh,
units in the
yeah,
building
really,
as well.
eh?
Yeah,
I bought
Small
Phil's
world.
unit.
That's hilarious. Okay.
You oversold it for too high. But I bought it. It worked. 2 years later, the whole condo is just.
You guys all owned in Slater, right?
It's actually honestly, it's actually a great building. It's just management was a shit show.
Yeah. Well, once the original 5 people that were on the board, there was like 3 that stepped down, and then it basically just got like hostile takeover by these people that just hated short-term rentals, and kind of went downhill. Things have calmed down now.
Yeah. No, it's nature of the business.
I still
man.
have my unit, but
So do you
probably-
Airbnb that thing or do you?
yes. So I still do. It's a minimum 30-day rental now,
Yeah,
which
okay.
is not ideal.
Right.
Because before, when you can do 1 and 2 day minimums, it's probably running a profit of like about $3,500 a month.
Cha-ching.
Now it's basically barely
Break
break
even.
even.
Yeah. if honestly, if you broke even, I'd say that's a plus.
Yeah.
Right now, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Probably taking a bit of an L now because I just
You can
renewed my
sell it,
mortgage,
sure.
took variable, and I was in a fixed before, so paying a little bit more now, but I'm gonna hang on to it probably for a couple more years, and then
You're still
see
gonna
what I
make
wanna
money
do
on
with
the sale of it, I'm sure. Like
yes.
it's-
Yeah.
You probably did you buy it pre-con for that one?
No, I didn't buy pre-con.
Close to?
I bought actually directly from the builder because the couple of units that I think they had as sales offices, and they were still working on some stuff on the side with the old
Interesting.
hotel. So
Oh,
I bought
yeah, the
directly
alt.
from the
True.
builder. But it was actually a bidding war as well. There was the unit right below me that sold for $425, and somebody had actually outbid me and then backed out. And
So you
then,
came in?
and then I came back in slightly higher, I think, than where I was at, or at the same price. I think I got mine for about $437.5.
Funny,
then
that
some-
seems expensive back then.
And
now,
then,
yeah.
and then the one right above me sold, I think like 3 or 4 weeks later for like $452. So everybody paid
Starting
like
to go
about
up.
$15K more.
Right
in the
after
difference
that,
of-
yeah.
Well, it's a nice building. I don't. You ever been in the Slater?
Good
No.
building.
Yeah.
Don't own, unlike you guys.
It's good though, really well run. To be honest, I think like my condo fees have been for like a 2-bed, 2-bath with parking and a locker.
Yeah.
The fees have been pretty consistently at like 600.
That's not bad. Yeah, it
for
was
like the
COVID.
last 5-6 years that I've owned it. Whereas like a lot of other condo buildings, the fees have been skyrocketing quite a bit. So it's I think pretty well run now by the president there. So
Do you guys have any like do not go into condos like for clients? Like, hey, don't enter this condo or like on a ban list? I'm trying to think of
Not
one.
really. I mean, the way I see it is, it depends on what's going on. If you have a client that sends you a list of condos to see, even if you know that it might not be the favorite, you should just go see it anyways, just so that at least
Compare
that's
at least.
done.
Yeah.
And then if they are interested, then just give them more information.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I never deny.
Blacklist.
Yeah, no, I mean, unless
Yeah.
it's like, whoa. Like,
Yeah, I'm
no,
trying to think
this is a
of-
massive lawsuit impending. Like,
Yeah.
forget
Remember,
it, but-
I think 90 George had like
yeah,
some crazy.
and I sold one there recently.
He had a big one
A
actually.
big
I saw
one,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So I assume that came
And
back.
that-
Congrats on that.
Something came up. There was an assessment that came up. There's still a bit of a conversation happening between the lawyers about whether they knew prior.
Interesting.
And there was some information missed, I think, by the seller, but it was
Hmm.
prior to closing. So anyways, there's a
They resolved.
conversation going on. I think my buyer is very well-to-do, I guess you could say. So for him, it was like, we knew something might come. It wasn't that big of an issue.
It's cool that
We also said, like, if you were a first-time buyer, it's a different story. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have gone
Placed
there.
it,
But I
yeah.
mean, for his, his established career in what he does and financially, it was like, I'm like,
He's
I'm like, but you're getting exactly what you wanted where you wanted for
It's a nice building.
For what you wanted, got it furnished, everything. So it worked out in the end. But yeah, that building had a lot of problems.
So I just remember always seeing like on the Facebook groups for us, there's always someone complaining about 90 George. And I was like, it's a nice building. There's always just something.
Great building.
There's just always something popping off. I don't know.
Concierge, that huge foyer. It's sick walking in there.
It's still the same guy who's been there.
The big dude.
Yeah, this guy's been there.
I know. He's massive, man. He's like 6'6". Super nice guy. But
Jesus.
He used to bring people's cars up. Like you walk in, throw your keys, go to your unit, and he'd bring the car up for you.
He would do that?
Yeah. I don't know if they do that anymore. It's probably nowadays, everything you do is a liability, so I don't think they do it.
This guy's just very serious. I remember one day I pulled in, they got the pylons out front. So, I pulled in, I moved the pylon. It's like only for residents or visitors of, like quick visitors. Anyways, I moved the pylon. I pull in right away. All of a sudden, he's standing beside me. He's like, hey, I remember you. You're coming in to see that unit. I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, come on in. I'm like, geez.
Oh, no, this guy's
he's not fucking around.
No.
You're not sneaking in.
No, he's a monster, man. The guy. I mean, he's a super nice guy, but it's like he's very intimidating.
Like the Undertaker, fuck.
No, you'd get smoked in 2 seconds.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But that's an interesting one. Besides that, though, like, how's business, boys? I know we all had a big transition period. We're all at new brokerages. We're obviously at Rare. These guys teamed up and are at EXP right now. So, like, how's the transition of that?
Transition was crazy. I think, at the end of what we all went through prior.
All of us collectively.
Yeah, it was a lot. I think that regardless of the market, I think mentally a lot of us were drained just about everything and just how we're going to restructure and move forward.
Fair.
When we got to EXP, we had a plan, and it's almost a year now, and we're pretty much at where we expected to be.
Good for you, boys.
We didn't really set like we're gonna do this. Mm-hmm. This is gonna happen within 12 months. It was like, this is what we should be focusing on, and we're almost. I mean, I'd say we're pretty much exactly where we wanted to be.
Hell yeah!
And this next year is going to be even better because we're hitting good numbers. Right now it's a little bit challenging as the sellers market. Well, as the market switched to a more balanced market, sellers are having a harder time and buyers are just waiting. But overall, I mean, I can't complain. Like we've had a pretty good year, and we brought on some new agents to the team.
Yeah,
so
you guys are growing.
It's been
good.
Good.
2 or 3, 4 of you guys?
Yeah, we have 2 agents, 1 full-time, 1 part-time, and we're in the process of bringing on.
We have 3.
Bringing on 1 more part-time agent.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah. So we have 3 right now. Sorry,
so
and
4 total.
We're bringing on a 4th part-time agent now, which is kind of cool. It's a little bit, I think, faster than what we initially kind of planned on, but it's working because we have 1 full-time and then 3 that are part-time.
And they all live in different parts of the city.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we're covered.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's very cool. And that was the thing, because like he said, like that was one thing that we said we want to get back to having an admin, because we let one go when we made the move, and then we want to have potentially 2 agents. That was kind of like the max. But Makes then sense. With this whole with the part-time idea, and one of them especially being like established, he'd been in the business for 5 years, took some time off, came back on. It was like, well, he's pretty much self-sustaining, just needs a little bit of support and everything. And with the new one coming on, we just, we clarify, mentioned to all the other guys, said, look, this is what we're doing. We want to make sure you guys understand, and, it makes sense for us, but we want to make sure that you guys are okay with this.
Good for you guys.
It's a benefit for the whole team, we feel. And everyone was like, yeah, absolutely, go for it. So
teamwork.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing, right? I mean, it's communication, right? A lot of people, from my experience in teams and all that shit,
some good, some bad.
People don't talk, and then people slowly.
I was just going to say that.
Slowly leave, and then someone else doesn't follow up, and then they're like, oh my God, what are they thinking? What are they doing? Are they going to leave?
It's probably tough, like bringing people in, new team members, training and whatnot, and trying to get them to fit into the core group.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the thing is for us, like, we know where we want to go with our individual business and like our roles. That's changing a bit. And all of this stuff is how we approach agents when we talk to them. Like, we're very clear saying like, look, you're joining a team that's not fully set up,
but you're building.
This is where we want to go. This is what we're intending to do. But you need to understand that now, because there's certain things that you may not get with us immediately that you'll get later, but it's coming. And then everyone's usually like, thank you very much.
It's like a vision,
that's amazing for sharing. Like Venkat, when he came on, I said, dude, you're like 6 months early for us. But if you want to do this now as long as you understand.
See the bigger picture.
And he loves it. I mean, you know, he's been huge support.
It's
really
good.
good guy.
Transparency too, I
guys.
think is
Yeah.
huge, right? So getting that off the ground right away, I mean, you're not going to have any hiccups. So that's good.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
I
ain't
see
easy.
it all the time.
People
I talk to
fucking
people
miss
with
that
big
all the
teams,
time.
man. I see it all the time.
Come up, come down, come up,
Dude,
come down.
it's like
but
you
it's tough.
got 10, then you got 5.
Yeah.
Then you just want to be 2 again.
Yeah.
Well, people leave if they're not making money, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
like everybody needs to be making money, and like
Valid
that's one of
point.
the things. Like you don't want to grow too quickly to the point where you know you brought on 10 agents and there just isn't enough business.
Yeah.
It's the
to go
ghost.
Yeah.
to go around and stuff, right? But it's exactly as Greg said. Like we have those conversations up front with whoever we're bringing on. We're like, this is the way it is now. This is where we're going. If you guys want to join now, you're essentially welcome to. If you know, if we think it's a good fit. But it also comes down to like location and like skill sets and stuff, right? So
Different people, different,
yeah, so we just kind of want to be able to strategically, you know, be like located and stuff, right? I'm West End, Greg's in the East. You know, a couple of other people are more like Central and even more West and stuff like that. So
Spread out.
that way
That's
we
smart.
can cover the city pretty well. So if there's showings, like if I have showings in Orleans, like I'm not going to drive
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Call.
I can give him a call and he's 5 minutes away and can go do it, right?
King of
That's
Orleans,
smart.
man.
Same with like everybody on our team. You know, we're getting a bit more busier on like weekends. I mean, Greg's got his family and stuff.
Balance.
We don't want to be doing open houses as much. So, and you know, bring on hungry new agents that
Yeah.
you know teach them how to do open houses and teach them how to, you know, it's a pretty low hanging fruit, right? Like anybody that's coming in,
Fair.
you have
Well said.
somebody that's, you know, taking time out of their day to come and visit your property, especially if they're unrepresented. You know, regardless of whether they're buying now or buying 6 months down the road, you should know how to convert that lead into a potential buyer down the road,
love
right? And we're pretty heavy on the listing side right now. So that leaves open a ton of opportunity for people on the team.
Plug
you know,
and
like
play.
if you want to sit open houses, you know, go ahead and do it. I remember when I started, I was doing open houses every Saturday and every Sunday. And even if I only got one person coming through the door,
It's worth it.
you know what I mean? If it's you know, even if it's a $500,000 buyer, you know what I mean? That's 10 grand in your pocket. So what else are you going to be doing? Hanging out at home watching watching Netflix or watching football or something, right?
Yeah.
It's only 2 hours out of your day where, you know, you can meet a potential buyer. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities for people that, you know, want to put in the work. And I think especially in this type of market right now,
Yep. Right.
Where-
Especially now.
buyers, you know, I find are just kind of waiting for rates to come down. It was the same thing as before. It's like, oh, we want to wait for rates to come down. Rates are coming down. Well, now we
It's
want
classic.
to wait for them to go all the way down.
No,
right?
yeah, we want
Yeah.
to really wait now.
Yeah.
It's so interesting
And it's a
understanding
it's a fine balance, right? And one of the pieces of advice that like we always give is we don't know where the rates are going. I mean, usually when they start going down, they go down for a while. When they start going up, they go up for a while, and then they kind of pause at the bottom at the
cycle.
top. And then you kind of have different cycles, right? But whether like I bought a house with my brother, you know, during, you know, higher COVID prices, but we could afford to buy a house. I didn't want
Rates
to
were
be living in
low.
a condo. So we just bought a house because we could. Made a bit of money on it in the beginning, lost a bit of money after, and now I'm probably up a bit on it. Payments have kind of fluctuated because I've gone variable. But putting money into the house, like as we're there, we're not in a
Building
rush to
equity.
leave, and I didn't really care whether the house went up or down in 1 or 2 years because I was going to be holding on to it for at least 5, and in 5 years'
Situational,
time,
right?
it's probably going to go up, right? You look at the Ottawa market historically, very well protected. We're kind of a bubble. A lot of government workers here. A lot of people aren't losing their jobs, so sure
We're
you might
insulated.
have little dips here and there, but overall, you look at the chart, it just goes up.
It's funny. I think I don't know how many Fed employees we have in the region, but like we're so insulated by the federal employee. Like
90% of my friends work there.
yeah, I think 3/4 of the people we know, like buyers, it's usually federal employees, which
Yeah.
is good. It's not a
Good
bad
gig.
thing. Good salaries, and good pen. Like I don't blame people. It's just funny to see how many people in Ottawa work for the government.
There's this guy that listens to our podcast, and he always comments negatively about. It's always like, oh yeah, hey boys, pumping the market again because I can't wait till the shit collapses. It's like you're all in trouble. It's like, yeah, okay, thanks. You know what the latest one was? Oh yeah, wait till Pierre Poilievre gets in power. 100,000 government jobs in Ottawa gone.
Yeah,
We're just
it's
like,
never
we're like,
gonna-
where are you getting this information? Like 100,000 people are going to be jobless from
And he
the Fed?
comments
Like, are you
every
kidding me?
single time.
Hilarious.
I would
Most
love to
times
have
he
that.
comments. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Bring it on, buddy.
I even called him out one time saying like, I'm like, you're a bot. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're a bot that's programmed to
Yeah.
hate and make comments, right? any comments back. He was pretty good with his response. But yeah, it's just
someone's always gonna like throw some jabs.
Yeah.
But like, we're in Ottawa. Like,
it's entertaining.
Yeah. For the market's great, people, it's going to crash. When it's crashing, it's going to be great. It's like you can never win, right? Like there's always someone.
But it's like, like Luka said, Ottawa is pretty steady. And like I think now that we're in, like I used to use this graph all the time where if you look at the cycle going back to the 50s, it's usually like a 20-year cycle where it's like you're like a flat line for like 5 years, then it starts going up for like another 10, then it really starts going up, then it goes up, and then it goes back. And it's been like that. The only anomaly was COVID, but it hit at the same time. It hit at the 20-year mark.
Interesting.
And so now, when I'm seeing it with, I know there are some people talking about how they think that the rates go down, the prices are going to go up. I think it's going to stay the same.
We haven't really seen prices.
I don't think that, they've dipped a bit, and I think we're just going to be going like this no matter where the rates go until later, and whatever the fuck that looks like. I mean, it's different. It's a different environment that we're not familiar with. Like even in the States, they'll say the same thing. Everything that's happening right now is new with the way that bond yields, rates, and just markets are all working together. It's just different. No one really knows. And elections, like all of these things now make a huge difference.
Oh my God,
whereas before they didn't. You know what I mean? I'm going to go buy a house. Great. Like you didn't care about the rate. It was what it was. Didn't care about who was in power. That's just who it was.
Now that landscape.
Now it's like you're looking at that. Well, if they win the election and everything, it's like, how? It's like, what do you mean? Like, what's really going to change?
So many different variables in people's heads now.
But that's the thing, because the media's infiltrated everyone's
mind. Literally everywhere.
And then our advice as professionals is taken, but it's not taken in the same way as it should be, right?
Too.
And a lot of the times,
like
if we have something wrong, then it's our fault.
But never their
right?
fault.
Never, So that's a challenge. I find.
It's gonna be an interesting year. But you're right. Like the U.S. election is this year. Likely next year we'll have ours. Latest, it could be this fall. Who knows? But like,
dude,
who knows what's gonna happen? People buy based off the elections now, which I've never really seen.
I just don't think there's gonna be a big change in the markets, regardless of who gets elected. Who gets elected there, right? Like housing prices are gonna be housing prices based off of supply and demand.
Yeah.
Right now, August, there was like 300 new listings coming out a week. You hit like the first week of September, and it's like more than doubled or tripled in terms of the amount of listings that are coming out. And I think 30 or 40% they're selling are all doing price drops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of price drops.
About like 33 to 35% are just price drops before they sell. But I think most properties are selling between, the ones that are priced well at least, are selling, I think, at like 97% of asking price.
Still great.
Which, depending on the price point, you're looking at like a 10 to 30K.
Which is probably good.
Amount, which is like pretty normal, right? Like if a property sits, is like kind of the same thing I tell most of my clients. I'm like, we got to price it one of two different ways. We kind of price a little bit higher knowing that people are going to come under.
Yeah, your strategy.
But then you risk scaring away a lot of buyers because they're just going to be, and good agents will know that it's overpriced. Or you price it at market. The problem with that is if it doesn't go in the first 2 or 3 weeks, you're probably only going to be getting offers that are, $20K less, right? So you kind of have to pick your poison of, you price at market and hope to have it sold within the first couple of weeks, relatively close to asking.
Fair.
Or, do you price a little bit higher, know that you're probably going to have to do a price drop and kind of play it off. But I kind of explain both scenarios to all of our sellers.
Everyone's different.
And I'm like, you guys can kind of choose which way you guys want to go. I give them a range that we're comfortable listing the property in. If they want to go over a certain amount, usually I just tell them, I'm like, okay, well, like if you don't need to sell, let's wait.
Yeah, everyone's got different.
If you don't have to, right? But it kind of depends, right? Like every single seller I find is a little bit different, as well as buyers as well, right? Like there's certain clients that I'm like, hey, this is a great deal, you should buy this. And then I've had other clients that are like, oh, I really want to buy this. I was like, I don't think you should buy that, right? So like it's very, very situational based off of, the criterion questions that we ask them of, like, what is your like 5 or 10 year plan, right? Like
we're doing your job.
Are you trying to buy a bunch of properties, or are you trying to buy just one property, sit in it for a while and then sell it, right? Because then if you overpay for your dream home, it doesn't really matter. You're going to be there 10, 15 years. Who cares if you paid $30,000 more or less for it, especially if you get in a bidding war and you're going to hate yourself if you don't get the property, right? Yeah, whereas like, it's like, oh, I just want to, maybe make a quick buck. I'm like, well, right now is probably might not be the right time for you to be buying and doing that, right? Because the market's kind of at a weird point where, is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? But we've definitely, I mean, like peak COVID prices, I think average single family home was around $750K. When they jacked up the rates as much as they did, the low point dropped back down to about $550, and I think we're sitting at about $650.
I think it was like $625, $650.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So definitely not as high as we were, which is to be expected, but also not as low as we were once people have adjusted, right? And we've kind of just been trickling slowly upwards, which is good in my opinion. I mean, buyers can do their due diligence. Obviously not as good for sellers, but I mean, sellers are probably also happy because they're also buying in that same type of market, right?
It's a trade-off, but like, I don't know about you guys, like going back to COVID, like I would not want to be a real estate agent in those times again. It's fucking hell.
No.
You're showing like 15 houses a day, putting 3 offers, and like you lose everything. Like it's not, buyers are pissed, sellers are obviously eating, but at the end of the day, like I'd rather this market than that one. I don't know about you guys.
It's just more work, and it's more real. It's more what it's supposed to be. Basically.
It's a shit show.
This is
legit. It was a shit show.
Yeah. With real estate now, it reminds me of when I started, where I started in a market where everything took forever. Like 90 days to sell any property, right? It's like, how long does it take? 90 days, right? And you just expected it. When the market changed, it was like 4 days on market. You're just like, what the fuck is happening? Like it feels like a month to you because you're used to everything moving so quickly, right? But then you look at the numbers, you explain it, and a lot of sellers will be like, oh, okay, well we're still within the range, right? So that's something. And I mean, I think the days on market is going to get extended again now, especially. Right? But there's a lot of sellers I'm finding they're listing at the price much lower than what they could or what they used to be able to. And then they're selling, but then they're competing with the homes that should be at that price. So they're having to drop.
It's a weird one.
And it's like, that's happening to us right now in a couple where it's like, to me, it was like, well, this is worth this. And then all of a sudden 10 more come out that are clearly worth 25 to 50 more, but they're priced the same. And it's like,
it's fascinating.
And I've had conversations with the agents saying like, they have to sell. They actually paid $750 new. They're losing $100,000.
You think that's
because it was a new build, shit like that. And then, or, they have to leave. They bought a house. They need to go.
Situational, yeah.
So at least they're selling at that price, which was huge on this one property we're working with. All 3 that I'm talking about specifically sold basically at list price. So we, accordingly, we dropped based on like, well, ours at this now makes more sense and it'll be more.
At least you pivoted. Some people don't pivot and you're just stagnant sitting there and your days on market start to grow and anxiety.
Well, we have to do this immediately.
Yeah. We did that in Finland, same thing. When the other one came on, you had to.
I find it's almost like such these different pockets. Like in Orleans, like I don't know if you've seen the difference, but like east to west, I'm like, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Like even builders
as well.
Even builders, like Orleans, you can get a detached sub 700 right now, which I'm like, in some areas, I'm like, it's crazy.
Which one did you see that?
It's funny, guys. Talked to Steve Papo yesterday. He's got a nice listing. It backs off Innis, so I get why it's not selling potentially. But he's asking $675, nicely renovated, double car garage, pool, nice backyard.
Really? Yeah.
$675, and I was like, man,
have to check that. Yeah.
Yeah, got the street name, and like we got one with Kaivan at $690. I know you guys visited too, but like these are brand new homes. And you got Glenview in Chapel Hill.
Glenview's great,
but like the pricing's so cheap.
Now,
I know, but you have to compete with that. So if you're like Steve Papo's client, for example, it's like $675 for a fully renovated house in Orleans, like sub 7.
It's good.
No, you're not. It's hard to get like townhouses in certain areas for that, right? Like you look at like Wateridge Village, for example. Like they're gonna do like a new release, or like they're about to do one, and like the townhouses are starting in like the high 8s, and you're just like, man, like who's gonna be buying these, right? Like
it's insane.
And like certain people want to be in certain pockets, but it's like you look at some of the prices for like towns, and then you compare it to like singles in different areas, and it varies quite a bit from pocket to pocket, and like the 100%. Same ones that are selling in Barhaven in the 7s are selling like in the 6s in Orleans in certain pockets, right? So it's just quite a big price difference between the east and the west end communities.
100% agree. I know you're more Orleans. That's why I brought up Orleans. I noticed it yesterday when I was talking to Steve. He was saying he's like sub 7 Orleans renovated. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, and that house would be $750 at least in Barhaven or Canada, but maybe $8. Yeah,
great area. I should say, listen, I was like, I looked at it trying to help him, like what could be wrong, and it's like, I got nothing to say, man. It's just like, how do you tell a seller that? It's like, you have a great property, great location, you're priced well, but it ain't selling, right? It's one of those things you just gotta like. I told Steve, I was like, take your time with it.
You need patience, I find, right now in the market, right? Like it's like having that conversation, being like, and I have some sellers that was like, oh, we need to price drop. I was, guys, we've only
chill on
been
the price drops.
We've been on the market for 2 weeks. We did a lot of research. We've looked at the comps and the other things that have sold in the area. We're priced right where we need to be. We just have to give people time to come in and see it, right? Just because it didn't sell in the first 10 days, like, or the first like 2 or 3 days, like it used to sell before.
100%.
You know, like now it takes like 30 to 45 days to sell a house, right? I'm like,
Just
you guys are welcome to drop, but I'm like, if you guys also drop too quickly, you know, and you guys don't need to sell, like you guys are making it seem like you have to sell, and then there's a certain amount of desperation, right? It's different if like you take a listing that you know is overpriced, 2 weeks go by, you have 0 showings, and then you know they're like, okay, let's drop the price, right? Yeah. Like in those situations, it makes sense, right? But it's very situational. But you kind of also have to, you know, talk some sense into some of your clients sometimes and be 100%. Like, hey guys, it's a slower market. Take your time, it'll sell. We just have to, you know, wait.
Yeah, people panic too.
So was that statement like buyer's market with no buyers?
Yeah, it's true.
It's a weird.
It's a weird time.
But it's
a weird time.
The other thing I noticed this year, I mean, August was super slow. Although they said, although the board's like numbers were up, and because of like year over, I'm just like,
no. I think August was terrible.
Yeah, we all know August was terrible.
Ask anybody too. In real estate, they're like, this is terrible.
But what happened this year, what I thought was like I think everybody knew that September was lining up to be like listing high. Like we knew it. Everybody was prepping listings. Everyone I talked to, bro, I got like 10 listings coming out. Shit's all signed. We're it's go time. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, wow. And then I'm telling myself, I'm like, well, I'm having conversations where these people are saying they have like, there's listings coming out. So like, we're doing yours, but just be aware that there's going to be more, and it might slow things down a bit.
We're gonna compete.
And then we got the good weather again. And I'm telling you, man, that in my experience, it makes a difference. Like when you've got like suddenly 25 degrees on the weekend in September, people are just like, I'll wait. There's a lot on the market. I'll wait. I'm going to do other shit. Right. And that's kind of, I think that now that that's over, I think things are going to pick up for October. I think October is going to be busy.
You think the winter will be busy, like November to December kind of?
I think October through November will be pretty decent.
So a little delayed in a sense, kind of?
Yeah. I just think it's delayed again.
I don't think you're wrong. I like your take on that.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I think a lot of people...
And we're seeing, like, we've got a bunch of listings that had nothing, and then suddenly within the last, like, 3 days, we're starting to see showings come up. We sold, two last week, which had been on for a while, and now we're seeing showings on the other one, so I'm kind of like, okay.
Yeah,
it's a nice feeling because, you're sitting there having these conversations, and you're like, what's really going to happen?
Yeah.
I will it.
Yeah.
I will it.
It is different. It's like he had a conditional deal recently. It fell through for other reasons, but like it was on for what, like a week, kind of not too many showings, and then the deal fell through, jumped on. They had 4 offers the following day.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it was sitting a week prior. It was before the Labor Day. So I was like, you got it in a perfect time. Client to go through it. But like the seller's probably laughing now, like 2 weeks later, 4 offers.
Such a shock.
She probably got higher than when he paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing too. Like we have no showings for like I think almost 10 days. Now we got 3.
It's weird.
And like the clients are like tripping.
Yeah.
They gotta go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm kind of like, okay, talking to the broker, like, what are we gonna do? And then boom, 3 showings. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
a little
it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee,
relief.
but it's there's a solution.
Yeah.
So we're working on things there, but it's good to see.
I also feel like there was a delay in the spring market this year.
For sure.
Like usually like February, like middle of February, things get like busy, and like we were February, March, and then I found that like beginning of April, mid-April, like we got like insanely busy.
Yeah.
And then
going
we're
into
busy
it,
pretty much all the way to like the end of July, early August. August was dead. And then the first week of September I thought was like crazy busy. We did a bunch of open houses, had like 5 to 10 visitors at each one, and then at our open houses the last like 2 weekends with the nicer weather and like the heat wave in September, there was like nobody. I feel like everybody was like at cottages,
for sure.
Like hiking in the Gatineau Hills and stuff like that, like enjoying like still like the last kind of bit of summer.
You got it, man.
And really not interested in shopping. And I think we'll kind of have the same thing because we had a delayed spring market. I think we'll have a bit of a delayed fall market, but I think it'll probably pick up quite a bit in the next like
just breaking a little bit of rates there, a little rate cut too might help. That'd be a nice little.
That's going to be interesting. I mean, they're talking 23rd, right?
Yeah.
0.5 can't come soon enough.
Yeah.
What is it? October 23rd.
23rd, yeah.
23rd. So that'd be interesting. That's what, the second last.
Or there's one more. And there's one more in early December, I think. After that.
Yeah, if they go 0.5 on this, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
I mean, there's a lot of
I don't know what
speculation
it's gonna do.
for 0.5. Like, I have a couple of friends that work at a couple of the big banks.
Do you think they would do
and
that?
Bank of Canada, and I mean, the states dropped 0.5%.
The
I
Fed
think we're
did,
at
yeah.
like 2.1% on inflation, and initially when they started doing the giant rate increases, they wanted to get inflation to about 2%.
We're at 2% now.
Which we're at now.
Yeah.
So I think they'll probably start to get a bit more aggressive with cuts, because a lot of people that got those very low rates during COVID, those mortgages are all coming up for renewal in the next 9-10 months.
It's funny how that works, right?
I think a lot of people could potentially be going under, or some flash sales coming up in 9 to 10 months if they don't cut the rates, right? Because people are going to be going from 1.25%, 1.5% and jumping up to, they've already started to cut them.
Yeah,
but
thank
if
God.
they didn't, you'd be jumping from 1.5% all the way up to over 6%.
Oh, it would have
right?
been there's already been more insolvencies than usual in Canada.
Yeah.
Just
don't hear about it though, right?
And now
People are
it's
not-
like, it'll be a lot more. People lose their house for sure.
Well, didn't
Can't afford it.
they just
Too
announced
much.
renewals, the no stress test? So
Yeah.
like they're almost
Switching
doing
lenders.
things to help. It's like
To try and prevent it.
people are like, oh, all these renewals are coming up. There's gonna be all these foreclosures. There's gonna be some people, but I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be.
No.
The banks and the government are literally just gonna help people. It's just COVID 2.0. Same thing again.
And then again, we'll see. We've never been here before. What does this look like?
New territory.
We won't know, right?
Yeah.
no one knows, man. That's why people are like, oh, this is gonna happen. I'm like, no one knows. I don't know. You guys
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, there was that article that came out like a couple months back where the government was basically saying like, we need to keep continuing to prop up the homes so like the boomers can retire. I don't know if
It was so
anybody else
full of shit.
Taxing the boomers.
saw that article, and they're just like,
Capital gains
We have
goes
to make sure that they're protected, and
Yeah.
it's like, all right, well, like, what about all of the young Canadians that are trying to get into the market to buy something when you guys are propping up these homes, at like $1 million price points when they realistically should be in the 700s, right?
No, it's
And
absurd.
like you
man.
could get into like a starter home like 4 or 5 years ago for like a townhouse that's like pretty decent and new for like 300,000-400,000.
Oh, yeah, the landscape.
The starting point went up to 7. I think now you can probably get into some of them in the 5s, but it's
Yeah.
still a pretty substantial difference. I mean, you got to be making like a household salary of like $200,000 to be able to afford something in like 700,000-800,000. Right? Like it's crazy.
You gotta
It is
feel for
crazy.
people too. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know how, but
I don't know
people
how
find
certain
ways.
people get by. It doesn't add up.
But you feel it, like gas, food, everything. The economy's not great. That's why people are like, oh, rates come down is great. I'm like, economy's shit.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
rates are coming down, guys. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a good thing. It is a good thing, but depends how you look at
It's
it.
just, it's funny though. People get used to things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like everything's up. Well, you just get used to it.
It
becomes
You just
the
and
norm.
then you forget about it, right?
Yeah.
Higher for longer. Remember that?
it-
I think Trudeau said that. It was like, rates are, something like that. It was like a tagline, like higher for longer.
It's like-
Start cutting rates pretty quick there, pal.
yeah.
I don't know how that lost.
Yeah,
but
I
that's
wonder
good.
why.
Yeah, I mean,
Election,
There.
oh no.
politicians say one thing and then do the complete opposite 3 weeks later, right?
Which is
Like,
Classic.
expected now. I think
Classic.
everybody expect politicians to be full of shit.
Yeah.
I don't believe a single word they say. Why
Yeah.
would you?
Yeah,
On both sides.
They don't tell the truth.
Why would they?
Yeah. who
Even
knows?
like they come out like stats can come out like stats, and I look at it, I'm like, there's no way that's legit.
well, even look at everything else. Like, oh yeah, the economy's fine. It's like, yeah, because we just brought in so many new people to Canada, and now you guys are curbing that. Like the second those fucking numbers come out, like everything's just gonna fucking
Toast.
fall, right? Like the GDP is gonna be
Our
like,
GDP's
fucking
trash.
negative, and it's just like, oh, like, well, we've been in a, like, to be fair, we've been in a recession for probably like 2
Yeah.
years now.
Yeah.
You just don't see it because they keep changing the definition.
Yeah.
And like, you
Yeah.
know, like
Changing the rules.
so well said.
Moving the goalposts.
which services go into the GDP basket? All right, well, these numbers are down. Let's remove that.
This is so well
Add these
said.
ones to
Yeah.
pat the stats, right? And then, but then, once all of that stuff stops and you realize, like, okay, like all of these jobs that like nobody wanted to do that were being done by temporary workers and,
Low end work, yeah.
and in immigration that like now nobody wants to do. Now you've cut those people off from coming in. Like, what are those like jobs and sectors going to look like?
But there was no
right?
planning. I think our housing
Zero.
minister became the infrastructure, or they swapped the ministers. Like our housing minister used.
Oh, yeah, right.
They
I
swapped
can't
him.
remember
I'm like,
the
oh,
specific.
perfect. He was in that problem, so he knows what's happening. And then went and pivoted and did the complete opposite. I was like, you were the housing minister. How did you not forecast infrastructure and housing into your immigration plans? Like,
Makes
Wait,
no
wait,
sense.
what?
Right?
A lot of scramble.
that's why I think they do things on purpose. I'm telling you, it makes no sense. Think about it.
Who's really calling the shots?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's more to it. It gets me.
How deep do you want to go?
Yeah.
It just gets me. It just grinds my gears, man. I see the stuff they do. I'm like, you guys are just. No one's thinking. So I like Poilievre's thing. It's like common sense conservatives, just basic.
Oh, dude, his new ad is amazing.
Good shit.
Did you see the new ad?
Good shit.
It's like someone posted it. I saw it on X, and they were just like, yeah. So he just won the election, and everyone through this ad alone. People are like, he already won it months ago, but the ad is like, I was like, wow, this is
the common sense,
powerful ad. They're walking in the field talking about real Canada and shit.
They had amazing, that on Sunday Night Football, literally like prime time.
Oh, okay.
The conservative ad came up. I'm like, these guys got money.
Yeah,
I think they're pushing it, but it was good ad. I'll give him that. It was a good ad. We'll see
you look at everybody. Like everybody just wants a change, right? Like people that were like lifelong liberals are just like,
fed up.
Fuck these guys.
You get tired of it.
We just want something different, right? You look at even like the younger generation, which is generally more like liberal, has now like swung pretty heavily to the conservative side of things, right? Just because they're sick of overspending and everything else, right? And it's just like, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, like it doesn't really matter.
No.
Like, both sides,
same shit.
It's it's gonna feel different for a bit, and then it's gonna go back to the same thing, right? And you just it's like a pendulum that swings back and forth, right? And you go from one party to the other.
Yeah. It's been long though.
Big party.
True.
It's
been long.
It's been a very long party. Good 2-week bender.
He's been what 9 years? Wow. How long has it been? 9 years?
2016 or something. Yeah, 2016 I think it was.
So yeah, like honestly, like you had to run, my man.
Yeah.
See you never.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Overstayed.
It'll be interesting. But yeah, politics aside, we can go on for days. But like personal wise, like how are things with you guys? I know Greg, family stuff. I know you're always busy with that.
Yeah.
But how is it? I guess one of the benefits of being a team is I guess you can kind of lean on
big time.
Yeah, with kids and
big
stuff. How's
time.
that with the wife?
It's
the
good.
kids?
It's good. And that's with Luka, like we're in a really good flow where it's just kind of like, I think the thing that's good about us is that there's never really a question. It's kind of like
get shit done.
We just it's like, if someone needs something or it's like, okay, whatever, it's all good, like, taken care of, right?
I love that. That's the whole team mentality, right?
And we've been doing it long enough now that we just know certain things and like certain times and whatnot. Like, I mean, I'm with my kids I try to be home for dinner every night. I pretty much am.
Good for you, man.
And then other than that, I'm driving them out to Rockland for dance twice a week. You know what I mean? So I'm always available for that. And even, most clients are understanding. It's like, can you see this tonight? No, I can't see it tonight. I have somebody who can show you. We'd kind of like to see you. Can you do it Wednesday? Yeah, sure, we can do it Wednesday. Only problem with that is it only takes one time for Wednesday to come, and then the property they wanted to see is gone.
Yeah.
And that just happened recently. There was 3 that someone wanted to see, and they were gone. Yeah. And she'd already seen a few with one of our guys. And I was like, are you sure? I'm like, you can go out like tonight and see them. She's like, well, I'd really like to go out with you again. I'm like, okay, well, I said I can do tomorrow. She's like, I can't do tomorrow, Tuesday. I'm like, I can't do Tuesday. I can do Wednesday, sold.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, at least having the option is one thing, and then people truly understanding the process of the market, Do
you guys like based off client like profile?
Yeah.
Like, some you guys swap in like, Luka, this is better for you.
Depending sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's good. It's good thing to know, like, especially with new leads or new, people that'll have conversations with you, just kind of take the initial call, figure it out. And then, and then especially now having the other agents on the team, it's kind of like, I think this will be a good fit for this person.
I like that.
Recently it's turned into like, they'll do showings, report back. We'll follow up with like a call. They're happy. And then negotiation comes. We'll do that part.
I like that.
For now, anyways, until everybody's kind of like in stride.
Smart.
But yeah, it's good. I mean, with us, it's pretty much if he has somebody who's in the East End, then I just take it, and vice versa, right? And then people are usually pretty happy, because I got some calls recently, which was wild. Like, I'm like, where'd you hear about me? She's like Reddit. Heard about you on Reddit.
Reddit.
I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah, you're making it the Reddit forums. That's how you know.
Making noise on Reddit, and I'm like, I didn't even know. And then I said,
on Reddit, that's crazy.
We can. I said, where you are, it's better for you to, like, I said, I'll go out with you the first day, but you're gonna see Luka more because he's available.
Quick intro.
And then we figured I would go out first, and then of course 2 days later she's like, just came out, I want to see it tonight, and I'm like, can't do it. Luka went, and then that was it. I never even met her.
Good for you guys.
I followed up, and deals got done. There's another one. So I mean, stuff like that. the cool dynamic of having the team where like the flexibility and like the peace of mind
for
us, I think, especially for me with the family, like you said, it's just nice
wife
to be
and
able
kids,
to.
man. Yeah, priorities.
Yeah.
Well, you're just not gonna have business slipping through the cracks, right? Like,
Exactly.
Like vacations, like, you know,
That's
like,
another thing. Yeah.
like he goes away for like a couple of weekends. Like I make sure I'm there. Like now we have people on the team, so if him and I need to be somewhere
Even for you,
for
man.
like a weekend, then we have somebody that can you know take care of showings and stuff like that, and clients still feel that they're getting taken care of. But we're always available. Like I mean, like I have my phone on. Like I did a deal Monday night. I got an offer at 7:45 p.m. I thought it was coming at like 4. I play basketball
Classic.
Mondays and Wednesdays from like 8:15 to 10:15. So I'm like, okay, I called, like the agent calls me and I'm just like, hey, what are we doing here, right? Irrevocable midnight, right? And I'm like, but like the deal needed to get done, right? So I literally but there's 4 sellers that are involved, right? So 2 are overseas, so trying to get signatures and everything else is not the easiest
Yeah,
thing,
you need
right?
time,
so
man.
I reach out to one, get her to reach out to the others,
Yeah.
and then like I'm at basketball, so I'm like checking my phone in between games. I brought my laptop.
That's
and
the things
then-
that people don't see.
And then
exactly.
And
The
then
shit
I'm like,
you
I'm
gotta
literally
do.
sitting there. Everybody's like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean you're still working? I'm like, well, like, got an offer
Yeah,
at
you're
7:30.
on the
It's,
clock.
it's good until midnight. Pretty decent offer that I think we can work with. So I'm gonna try to get it done, and then get
While
on a
he's balling
call.
out.
Get on a call with them. It's like a 4-person call. Service isn't the best. Trying to figure out price, right? And it's just like
Good for you.
it's not like 1 or 2 sellers, but like it's 4 people, right? So like they have to agree, and I have to propose a couple of different strategies, and then get them to agree. Send it back, and like of course I'm doing stuff like the other agent like missed a signature. Then I crossed out a date, and like I missed like 4 initials, so I'm having to redo the entire thing. I'm driving back and realize like I messed something up. So then I get my brother to drive on the way back from basketball.
So you
like
do it
10:30.
Amazing.
I'm
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
car
yeah.
like this. I get home and then realize like again I missed something because like I was in the car, and then
shit happens, right?
so then I called the other agent. I was like, hey, like you can either like just accept and we'll do like an amendment afterwards and just figure it out, or if you want like just counter us. At this point, like it was
Just
a,
get
it
it
was
done,
a midnight
man.
irrevocable, and I was like, listen, it's like 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this signed back to you tonight. Can you please give us until 10 a.m. this morning?
yeah. That's it.
And they were a little bit nervous because we were looking at doing a price drop. Called a bunch of agents, and like they like obviously she wanted to protect her client, which is why they gave us a short amount of time, which I understand,
I totally get it.
from their perspective. But they also brought us a great offer. So,
Did it work?
yeah, I ended up getting everything,
Okay,
got everything signed that night. But I was up until midnight doing the freaking deal, right? And it's just like, what other job are you gonna fucking bring your fucking computer to a fucking sporting event and like take care of your clients?
I'm
in
happy
that
you
way
say that, 'cause
and
no
get
one
the
sees
shit
that.
done before fucking midnight, right? And then of course I get a call the next day from an agent that I called being like, oh, you guys like sold the property, you didn't tell me. And I was like, well, like I called
Midnight.
you, I told you to tell me like if you wanted to bring me something, you didn't.
And he didn't.
And she called me like 8 p.m. the next following
I
day.
think it
being
happens
like,
a lot.
oh,
You
I
gotta be
can't believe you guys sold it without telling us. And I was like, well, like I did call you. I gave you the
Act
heads up.
fast.
And I told you to call me if you guys wanted to submit something. You didn't, you know, and like got a great offer
That
for our
happens a
time
lot.
window, and
Yeah.
it got done, right? And it was a deal that clients need to get done. Very favorable closing date for
Take it around, man. If it
us
works
as
for
well,
you.
So
The hell with it. But
Part
like you
of
said,
business
yeah.
too that like people don't see it. It never ends, right? You
You
don't
don't
just
see
clock
that.
out, go home, watch a fucking movie.
but he's going to
Go
play basketball. Brings his laptop he's on the clock till midnight. Brother driving, he's on his laptop. Like,
And your
people don't
friends
see
all
that.
think you're crazy. They all do.
No, and it's hard sometimes, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was talking about roles, like of where we see our business going, and it's like I'm trying to, you know, more management handle back end stuff to make sure that everything runs well and
You're good with
everything's
Which you're good
designed
at
and,
that. Very
which
good.
you know, which I like to do more
Yeah.
more podcast stuff, more video
good
content
at
to
that
help
stuff.
bring in more business that way.
Hell yeah.
And you know, but then think like yesterday, and I was also sick for a while too. I was at home working all that stuff. But anyways, yesterday I get in the office, and then I have this plan, and then all of a sudden the shitstorm starts. Right? And I'm on the phone from 9 till 1 in the afternoon.
I can see it in his face.
Putting
It
out
hurts.
fires.
Yeah.
And to be honest though, I'm in there. I got the music on. I'm like, all right, man. I was all in.
Yeah.
in. And I went through the time, and everything got resolved. But it was a lot. And like what I did yesterday was crazy. This client, she's buying a property. She has 2 other properties. She runs a couple businesses. She's from El Salvador. She had to, you know, she was dealing with the mortgage broker, and he had asked her for all the documents that you need to get everything done. And because she has so much going on, that it's a lot of documentation. She didn't get it all in. She leaves and she was offline completely just because it was a family thing, right?
Oh, so she just
she's like, I couldn't. She's like, it was too much on that. And I'm like, it's fine. I go, so we had to get. So what happened is at the end we couldn't close. We only found this out like 2 days before. Oh. So I'm like, great. So, what do you do? And I'm like, solutions, like find the solution, and don't panic, figure it out. There's ways we can do this. And then she, finally I said, meet me at the office. And this was yesterday. Meet me at the office at 11 o'clock, bring whatever you have. Let's figure it out. I had the list of what she needed. I gave my answer. I said, bring it. So she came in for an hour. We went over everything. I'm scanning stuff for her. I'm organizing it all. And then, and then last night she's like, my client, I have to get this lease signed. I don't have it because she had bought it from someone. It's month to month now. So the lease she didn't have to have a new one, but the leases she had weren't signed. Yikes. So when we got the tenant had it, she sent it. And then the other one, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So we get her on the phone. She gets her on the phone right away. I talk to her and I go, look, I'm going to be in Rockland at my kid's dance. I'm going to drive out to Alfred. I'm going to get that shit signed tonight. I'll collect your rent and I'll write the receipt. So now we have 3 months rent receipts and you got your lease, right? She's like, oh my God, really? I'm like, yes. I'm like, we're doing this. So anyway, so last night, that's what happened. I dropped my girls off at dance. I'm like, peace.
You went to Alfred.
Out to Alfred, walk in, meet this nice old lady, get it signed, get her cash. Scan the receipts, she had the original lease. Sorry, didn't get a sign. She found the original lease. Sign it, go back. So now we've got, it looks like there's one more thing, but when we got the extension, now everything's getting done. But again, that's the whole.
No one sees that.
No one sees that.
No, they don't teach you that shit
and it's
in school.
like, people would panic.
People
would panic. Like that scenario as a new agent going through that shit.
Deal's toast.
Losing it.
Oh yeah.
Losing it. Like
buyer's getting sued.
And then, and see,
someone's getting fucking sued.
It's over.
Yeah, big time.
Phone mute.
Yeah.
This doesn't exist anymore, right? Yeah, right.
It's true though. Like as a new agent, who knows what you're gonna do about it?
And the one thing about not being on a team, if you're a solo agent and you have a problem like that, and you don't have a mentor or someone that you can reach out to, or you're at a brokerage that has like a line, for managers, but then there's other people calling and you're last in line.
You're done.
I go, you don't have that kind of support or experience. So it's like, I think it's important for flipping this into something different. But if you're a new agent, you need to have somebody you can trust. And they don't have to be like a veteran. It could be someone who's been in the business 2 years, who at least has a handle on
someone, right?
On what can happen, right? And finding the solution, because it happened to me and I'm like sitting there going like, this is brutal, but there's an answer. There's an answer to this.
Well, you have the reps. You've been around. You understand it. Where like most new agents would panic. Like I panicked all the time with you in a situation like that. I'd probably have a fucking heart attack.
Yeah.
But as you kind of go and you have a lot of reps, right? So you get it and you solve the issue rather than just like, fuck, what do I do? Which a lot of people would do, and they're like, I'll figure it out later, and then fucking lawsuit, blah blah blah. But you solve the issue. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to do X, Y, Z.
The lawyer, Michael Abrams calls me.
I love that.
And
guy.
he's like, buddy, this could be. I just spoke with her. He's like, this could be really bad. I let her know. I'm like, good, okay. Yeah, and I let her know. He's like, we need an extra $15K like tomorrow. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'll get it. And she was great. I'm like, we need this. I met her. She's like, here's the check. She's like, here's the receipt. I already sent it. Like everything's done. So like, I mean, she's in business, so she gets, so for that part, it was okay. But even for, she's like, this is a lot. I'm like, I know. I'm like, you should have this. She's like, I know I should have this.
Yeah.
She's like, I should have had this ready. There was too much going on and it was like a 25-day close.
And it worked.
So yeah, but it's in process, but yeah.
Good real estate shit shows.
Yeah. On top of all of that, I get a call from an agent saying, hey, we can't get into one of our listings that we did a final walkthrough on like the day before. I'm like, what do you mean? So I call one of our agents and I'm like, hey, like, did you put the keys back in the lockbox?
Oh no, they took the keys?
No, hang on. So I'm like, did you put the keys back in the lockbox? He's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, are you sure you did? He's like, yep, locked everything up, put the keys back in, and there was an extra set of keys like on the counter that we left for the buyers or whatever.
It's in the door.
And I was like, okay, so call the agent back. I'm like, yeah, like you left the keys inside the lockbox. Like, what's the problem? There's a secondary door inside the house that has a deadbolt that apparently there's no key for. So he as he should locked the door without keys. Knowing that none of the keys in the lockbox actually open that.
I get it.
And then I called Greg. I'm like, dude, fuck's going on? How did what happened, right? And he's just like, so we kind of went back and forth and figured out basically what happened, and then had to get I don't know what ended up happening.
I call it Avenue Locksmith.
Yeah,
in the Glebe. And the guy was great. I'm like, listen, this is what's up. He's like, are you there now? And I'm like, I can have somebody there in 30 minutes. He's like, okay, I got somebody. I'll send them over. I'm like, amazing. And then I talked to Venkat. I'm like, hey man, you locked the door by mistake. You got to go. So he went, let the guy in, $100, whatever.
That's not bad.
It wasn't bad. I was expecting whole change, everything. They got in another side door because the guy was smart enough. He's been in the business. He's like, this is easier to get in.
Yeah, nice.
So he got in the other door. And then came in the house. I was like, wow. I'm like, I was expecting $350.
That's what I was thinking. We said locksmith.
Dude,
just on the clock's probably $100 an hour. Taking an hour to do it, at least $250 at least. Yeah. Real estate shit shows, man.
I had 3 locks changed on a client's property a couple months ago, and it was $800.
Crazy.
Jeez. Imagine
that. Not cheap. And one of them was a super old school lock system. And thankfully, he didn't have to change all the whole mechanisms and parts. But it's some weird cylinder system that hasn't been around for 40 years. Right. So that alone, I think was
$300 go buy a new lock.
Yeah.
Smash it up myself. Take a sledgehammer.
But that's the type of stuff that happens on the daily, right? But on top of everything else that he was dealing with yesterday, being sick, having to get documents from this
kids.
Yesterday was wild, man.
Get that phone call.
We seem energized, so hey,
still got to get it done. And you
I get fired up talking about it.
But nobody sees that. Everyone's like, oh, you guys do this. It's if someone could you get a GoPro on you and
follow you,
mimic that for a day. Yeah. Most people are like, I'm done, man. 7 p.m. I'm tuning out.
Yeah.
You're still going. Yeah. But nobody appreciates that side of it until you're in it.
I think you're right too with new agents joining. You should join a team like that. Hearing what you guys are saying too. I mean, I'm newer. I've been for a couple of years, but it's nice to know that you can have that support. Going in solo would be fucking scary.
That's the thing. One guy that's just joining now, he thought he's been in the business for a while, wasn't getting what he wanted somewhere, went somewhere else, thought he was going to get it, didn't get it.
They never do.
Classic. Had to go, get another job temporarily, and then kind of came back and, he
revamped it. Man.
He approached it in the right way. It was good. You know what? This is what I thought. I know that I need this now. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool how just to see somebody go through the steps, and then now they're back, and then they really understand the value. Which a lot of people, you never know until you try it. You could tell somebody, join a team, it's the best for you. No, man, I'm going to do this shit on my own.
Yeah. I watch
There's no playbook.
Balling, right? It's no.
There's no playbook.
Balling into the lawsuit.
You have to be so driven and committed to be solo full time for a year or two right away, to make it through this business right now without having any professional help or advice.
You got to learn too, right?
It's a lot, man.
Well, it's tough, right? You have no clients. You don't know how to do any of the paperwork. If you have questions and you don't have a mentor, or you join a brokerage where you're not going to be able to get that support from somebody when you need it, if you're trying to draft an offer, the market's obviously cooled down a little bit now, so you have a little bit more time to put things together. But the other day, the deal that I did, these people didn't have their shit together.
Yeah, you can tell.
On the day, I gave them the fucking courtesy call, nothing, and then more than 24 hours later, it's oh, you didn't inform us, and it's well,
you did. You just didn't.
You know what I mean? But it comes down to that as well, right? Maybe there was no support there. You don't know the story, right? So, but if you don't have that support to get a deal done, you could lose that client, right? If that's a house that your client really wanted,
you're getting fired,
and you didn't submit an offer in time, or you didn't have your ducks in a row in a reasonable amount of time, you lose a client, you lose a deal, and it's people say, oh yeah, it's only 10 or 15 grand, right? But that's potentially a referral, that's a review, right? And it's just until you start looking at your business as an actual business, it's just a lost lead is not just a lost lead, but it's a lot of potential business down the road that could actually be hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your pocket, right? I had a couple of clients that I've done multiple deals with, 1 or 2 deals with them specifically, but just based off of the service and everything else, they've referred me 5 deals in the past couple of years, right?
Yeah.
So
referral business
is massive for all of us, right? It's you take care of somebody, and then there's been a couple of meetings that I've taken with potentially taking over other listings and stuff based off of business that I've done with people, and not even directly with them, but there's oh, do you know anybody? It's oh yeah, this guy helped me buy my house, he's amazing, don't call anybody else, call him, and then you just get that phone call out of the blue, and it's like Christmas every day, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing better than a referral in our business when it comes to like a compliment from a client or something like that, right?
It's the best. The referral's always gonna be the best, right? But you never know where you can find your business. Like this guy was telling me that they gets business in the steam room at the gym. How many dudes you bang out in the steam room? In the steam room.
Yeah, there's a guy that I was chatting with. I only picked up a buyer. Me and another friend were just like chatting about like markets and stuff like that. And one guy was just like, oh, like I was kind of thinking about like getting something, and just like, right place, right time type of thing, but also just like talking about business. And the guy's just like, well, let's do it. Like,
people open up in the steam room too, and you're relaxed.
You know what's crazy?
You're an easy person to talk to.
The conversations I've also had in steam rooms, it's probably the best place.
All the time.
It's crazy.
It can go any direction.
I don't know if you don't go anymore, but you know how it is. Like the
It's
steam
fucking
room
good.
chats, it's like
Oh, yeah.
you got the old timers, you got the young guys, it's all like mixed in.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's the best.
I don't know why I was thinking like steam rooms. I mean, I remember, you know, when I used to smoke occasionally cigarettes, like just the best conversations.
Same idea, yeah.
Like just you don't know what's going to happen
Social
or who
hour.
you're going to meet. You know what I mean? It's always the most random shit.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking like steam rooms and cigarettes.
Yeah.
That's the new
that would-
podcast, right?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
It's
I'm gonna
funny how
smoke.
that works though, man. It's steam room
Oh,
chats.
shit, that's
Same with
funny.
saunas. Like, I think it's crazy.
Yes.
Or just gym in general. Like how much business have you done just from going to Movati, for instance? Or like the people you've met?
Yeah, a couple. Like I've probably done a couple of deals over the years. But there's a couple of guys that like have like pretty like nice portfolios of properties that I chat with on like pretty much like a regular basis that are like sitting tight. But
Yeah.
like when the time comes, like I see them like every single day.
Yeah.
Like there's like, yeah, like, if we need anything or we know anybody, like you're a guy, right? So, and just based off of like saying hi to them
That's
and
the
like
best.
interacting with them and like saying what's up, and like our schedules are a bit more flexible than most people, right? So like a lot of the older like retired guys will
Probably
go
there
like,
during
you
the
know,
day,
like they'll go at like 9, 10 a.m. usually when I go, and most other people are working during that time, right? So
I like
it
that.
allows me to like interact with these people when I normally wouldn't meet them out anywhere, right? Like we don't really have any like common
Social
interests
hour.
and like different like age demographics and stuff, right? But there's that, you know, shared interest of going to the gym and taking care of yourself that we share, and then it just kind of leads to other stuff, right?
So I wanna
never
get
know where
Mike
your
in
business
there.
is going to come from.
Yeah, I gotta get back.
Trying to
in
get
the
Mike
gym.
in the gym so you can do that, but it's like, I don't know. You'll get there, bud.
It'll come.
One step at a time.
It'll
Mike
come.
stresses too much.
Tonight.
It'll help.
Yeah, I need
All
to
right.
get back.
Before we
in the
end
gym.
here, do you guys have any like real estate like no-nos? Like we do this little segment now. It's like
No-nos.
things that either realtors do that you're like, you look at, you're like, this makes no fucking sense. Why do you do this? Or just something that like gives you the ick. We had so many last week that we just kept popping off on. Like our first one was like listing videos where everyone introduced themselves. Hey, it's Eric Charron from 123 Mate. Like that we can't. I fucking hate that.
Or no
I hate
feedback.
That too.
No
that
feedback.
that was a massive no for me.
So-
yeah.
Like it's fine. I just don't see that because if you're posting it, I know you're posting it. I know who you are.
Yeah, there's nothing new to
See
it.
the
Right?
house.
Like the videos you guys are doing recently are pretty dope.
It's your
Yeah.
Try
It's it's cool though. I was happy to see it.
Yeah,
Try.
It's
Kinda
like
try
you're
and
putting
get
in the
out.
effort to do something
Yeah.
different, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We just don't give a shit anymore. So
Yeah,
we
it's-
care,
yeah.
but we just don't care what people think.
Exactly.
Which is
And
kind
that's
of,
what makes things work.
yeah,
Right?
it's kind of a beautiful thing when you stop.
Yeah.
It's also authentic, right? It's just like if you do a video listing video the way everybody else does it, it's gonna
It's
like
not
I'm gonna
you.
scroll past and I'll be like, oh, well, like yours I actually watched. I was like, oh, it's fucking hilarious. He's in the fucking construction.
I
outfit.
know.
You know what I mean, in the front of the house, and I was
It
like, I actually
plays to
watched the
him.
video.
It's so good.
And I, to be honest, I probably wouldn't have watched it had that not been kind of catchy in the
That was the
beginning. And I was like,
point.
oh yeah. And like we toured that
Yeah.
exact same model that you guys sold
Yeah,
a
seriously.
couple months back, which was pretty cool.
I like your guys' shit too. You guys do good videos. It's not
You guys are a
generic.
little more creative.
It's niche. It's cool. It's funny. you
Nah,
guys
it's just
kill it.
yeah. Ours are pretty. I mean, it is what it is now. Like we've
Guys
been
are
doing
just-
that for a while, but it's
good.
good. The clips with the conversation are pretty.
They're jokes.
They're hilarious.
Just
yeah.
tune it up, laughing.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's how it should be.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. It keeps you engaged. It's not
I always
generic.
die when these guys
with
do like
Luka with a monitor this size, you cannot just upload one listing at a time, but three.
You guys just go one-liners, like your classic like swoosh on the countertop.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
Yeah.
the classic realtor swoosh.
Yeah, that was the first one.
shit like
It's
that.
fucking
Yeah.
cut.
Patented counter swipe.
Yeah.
But
Everyone
that's
does
what
it.
people want to see. It's fucking funny. It keeps you engaged. You laugh. You get away from your life for a
It's
bit.
trends too, right? Like now it's like if you intro the house like that, people just scroll by it. But if you get them like doing something, it'll more often than not. But attention span's so like you're scrolling. No one's.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
like
I think
that too.
to get back to the no-nos, I think one of the biggest ones for me is just people not getting professional photos done
Oh,
for like somebody's house. Like
Yeah.
a
I
good
talked
one.
to an HVAC guy yesterday who is going to replace a motor on a property that we're in the process of selling. And I was like talking to him, and his brother has this agent that I guess, and these guys do like a bunch of business. And he's like, oh, I'm going to get my brother to call you in the next couple of days. He's like, he hates his realtor. He's like, he didn't get professional photos done. And the only thing he's done is, take photos with his phone, throw it up on MLS. He's like, there's been zero advertising.
For sure.
It's like, it's a country.
I don't understand how
it's a
a guy like
home,
that gets the listing.
But how's the
I don't
company
get
gonna
it.
allow it?
But so he's done a bunch of business, I guess, with this guy for a while, and is just basically
okay.
just like reining it in.
And now he
Just
doesn't
like,
care.
Yeah, doesn't care, not putting in the effort. He's like, I already have this in the bag, and is just doing nothing.
Doesn't give a shit.
I found that there's a lot of lazy agents now. Like
Sure.
even like I want to submit an offer. I'm calling for like a condo to get like a parking spot or a condo locker
They don't
that's
have
not
it.
in the listing, and they're not answering.
Can't get a
like
hold of
I'm calling, I'm emailing, I'm leaving a voicemail, and I'm like, dude, like if I don't hear from you within like 12 to 24 hours,
That's a
like
problem.
I'm literally just gonna bring my client somewhere else because I can't submit an offer without this information, and you're not picking up. Nobody from like your team or your office is getting back to me.
Such a basic thing.
Just
too,
like a lack of professionalism and straight up laziness from some people that just like shouldn't be acceptable, and it makes all of us look collectively bad, right? Because like if that's the type of experience that like we have as an agent, you know what I mean?
100%
Like,
agree, man.
how are these people dealing with like people like like off the street that are unwrapped, that are calling them and wanting to and are expecting a certain level
giving
of
any
service,
value
right?
to their client.
Yeah,
right?
the
There's
clients
literally
are
like
probably
zero
just
value,
looks
right?
so bad. Like iPhone, any kind of like
Oh, you
even
don't like that?
rentals.
You don't like the phone in the mirror?
Oh, that's the best.
Oh, yeah,
You
those
see
are the
the
best,
Asians
right?
in
Yeah.
there? That's such good.
I'm here.
The photos, even for rentals.
yeah, even for rentals, we
You
get
should-
professional
you
photos.
You have to.
Video.
Man,
You
someone's
know,
paid
it shows
you
you give a
$1,000.
shit.
Yeah.
Like
The classic.
No, but the thing
photos.
is, like, it's at the end of the day, like your listings. Yes, it's somebody else's house, but like it's your brand, right? Like, so if you have
marketing,
professional
too.
photos done. Like, we got an email from a potential client based off of the listing photos and the videos for one of our other listings. They have a house that's like 5 or 6 blocks over. They're thinking about selling in a few weeks, and they got in touch with us because of our listing photos, videos, the drone footage, and like how we presented the listing. And they reached out to us as opposed to somebody else. And there's like 10 other houses specifically in their neighborhood that are for sale. They saw our listing and decided to call us over
it
that,
looked-
right?
yeah.
So it gives you future business. It's professional, but it should be it shouldn't be, but it should like that
Should
should
be
be the
the
minimum,
baseline.
right?
Yeah, it's got to be
It's the
mandatory.
bare
though. It's
minimum,
like,
right?
Yeah.
If you're like a brokerage owner, I'd be like, if I saw an
Those
agent,
are the things, right? There's certain things like that should be a law.
yeah.
Like if you want to be a realtor, this is what you need to do. Like
Yeah.
certain elements of that, you know.
Yeah.
And
It's
80% of
so
people are starting their like 85 or 88%, I think, of like most people that are looking for homes now are starting online.
more than that, more than that.
And if the photos and the videos are horrible, nobody is going to come and take a look at your property.
but your face is on the listing. That's why I'm like, do it for yourself, not do it for your client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, it's marketing. Like
I never understood it. It's
it
weird.
should be like a mandatory thing.
But those
with-
people still get business too, which is weird.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, some of the old timers, you'll see like, I'm not gonna put the names, but like some of the old timers too. I'll see the listings, and I'm like, dude, this is
Yeah.
Nokia flip phone.
a 13-year-old can do a better job
Yeah.
at marketing this.
Much better job.
Oh yeah, with TikTok and everything nowadays,
already
probably blows-
professional.
They
Yeah.
probably blow us out of the
But I
water.
think you're starting to see that too, right? Like I think a lot of new people that got into the business are getting out, and I think a lot of the older people that
Does it change?
like they still have a certain level of like referral business that they're just going to get through friends and family and just being in it for like a very long time. But kind of starting to see a shift of like a lot of younger agents that are like doing more things for marketing, like just like looking at numbers year over year. You can kind of see them start to pick up because like they're just doing more, right?
100%.
And just being able to explain to people that if things aren't showing well online, like your property has a significantly lower chance of selling for like what you want for it, like
Business
bottom line.
101, man. They should be on that.
You have to adapt to new times too, and a lot of people don't. And
You got anything else you want to ask the boys before we wrap it up?
I was just talking there. You fucking cut me off. No, I'm kidding. No, not really.
I got one no thing to do.
Yeah, hit me up.
And it's a no, like that you should not do this. You should not ask for help in this business. Whoever you are, you should always have
the
somebody
manager. Here we go.
to just don't sit there and panic like I was saying earlier. There's always a solution. There's always an answer. You just have to ask for it. The minute that you sit there and start freaking out or submit an offer that's not done properly is like, everyone's going to go through it at some point. Like, I mean, we could even like that thing you did, you were missing the initial. It still happens, but it's
It'll always
like,
happen,
it'll
yes.
always happen. Like sometimes I sit there and I'll do an agreement. I'll read it 10 times. I'm like, why am I reading this 10 times? And because I know, like, I know you can just skim through it and you can miss something, right? And you don't want to screw it up. You want it to be perfect. But I think that like it'll just save you years. It'll save you a lot later, a lot of problems later. Like you really have to double check, and don't be afraid to like send it to one person, send it to another, like whatever you got to do. If you're on your own, you don't have any support. Yeah. If you have support, it should be mandatory that you're sending it to them anyways. Mm-hmm. And they'd probably be pissed if you didn't. But it's like just don't be afraid to ask questions.
I think that's advice, man. Honestly, like even for us, anybody who's been in the business, I don't care how long you've been. Like you said, there's still things that you don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like there's still things I don't know. Like this thing I'm just dealing with now. Right now, first time phone call I'm on. Said go back to that other house. So the house is 1.8. I gave them my insurance guy. No problem. All good. We're closing in 2 days. No problem. Insured. All suddenly, no, they won't do it. Well, why? Well, because they won't. They want 2.1, but who I'm working with won't insure 2.1 on that property. Oh, damn. Why? That's how it is. Okay. Let's call the guy whose company who had it insured before. Move on.
Call the company. Nope. We can't insure you for this property anymore. Why? Because now homes 100 years or older, we had 6 burned down in the last little while. So we're not insuring homes at that price point anymore at that age. So they could get insurance if the home was newer, but not at that age, even though it's been like totally redone and everything.
I think it's the trend.
So now I'm trying to find a new. That's
interesting.
So that's the thing. Never happened to me before. I'm on the phone. I'm like, honestly, guys, I'm like, I've never heard of this. First time. So then I posted in one of the groups.
Yeah.
Trying to get like solution, trying to find some more.
Never heard of that.
Insured. No, and we got two days.
2 companies.
Two companies said they can't do it.
And like bigger insured, like
one was Allstate, which is who he was with before, and then the other one was Desjardins. They're my guy. But the whole time going through, my guy said like, yeah, no problem. And then last minute, right before it happens, pull the plug.
What if it's a trend?
Can't do it.
Like you'll start seeing insurance.
But companies. I mean, well, that's the thing, right? Insurance is kind of a scam in a way, anyways, right?
Yeah, you gotta have
half of the things don't get paid out, and it takes forever. Yep. I mean, I shouldn't say it's a scam. It's business,
it can
right?
Be seen as
protection, but you think of a company who paid out $1.8 million 6 times in the last 6 months because of fires.
Yeah, they're tight. They're done.
Why are you going to insure something at that? I mean, they're not even going to go for it, no matter what you're paying.
That's fair.
It's crazy. So that's what I'm dealing with now.
2 insurance companies
today.
And you in the business how many years? And this is the first time
that's happened. Yeah,
you've been in business for
Like, whoa. I mean, I always say I've been in the business since 2007.
Yeah, you're
but full time since like 2011, 2010.
I love how he's just like, it's 7, 11.
Because when you meet someone and you talk about having kids and you do that, you realize that the party is somewhat over. Or it's a new party that's beginning, a better party.
Yeah,
a better party.
No, man,
but things change, right?
So you got a great setup, man. Yeah, beautiful kids, beautiful wife, life's good.
Yeah, thanks.
You guys are killing it.
Hopefully one day us, buddy. Same with him.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah.
We're all getting older though.
We are.
Older and shittier looking.
Better looking? What do you mean?
He ages well.
You age like
wine.
Speak for yourself, Eric.
Yeah. Sorry,
dude. Beef tallow. That's the secret. Yeah. Beef tallow.
Steam rooms.
Put it on your face every day. Beef tallow and steam rooms.
He does have a wicker regimen. Remember when he first joined? He comes in the office.
Oh, you sent me all that shit. That was lights out.
Green juice. Like, Greg, give me the green juice.
Take a shot of this at 9 a.m. Take this. I'm like, fuck, that's how you look so good, eh?
No, but he ages. Fuck, look at him.
Yeah.
Look, he aged like fine wine. Fucking great.
Thank you.
He's complaining about his back and knees, can't golf anymore. Yeah. This guy's just rolling up, no problem.
Take care of yourself.
Oh, I got the problems, but
what do you boys got for pet peeves?
We had the no feedback on listings.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a huge one.
Give me some feedback.
Oh, that's a bad one.
Then you call the agent, no answer for fucking days.
What else do we have?
That's a bad one.
Listing video feedback. Answer your phone. People go on vacation. People go on vacation.
Yeah,
we had do you guys do out of office at all on your emails?
Sorry?
Like, do you do like an out of office if you leave on your emails? So you do, okay, I was carving
I do. It depends on what I'm doing. If I know that I want to be fully offline,
and someone's covering,
and all it says is call Luka.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he know, and before we go away, we know what the file is.
Yep.
And the clients know. Okay. We usually, when we did it in the past, Zoom call with the client.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
I'm away. I'm planning on taking like 4 days fully offline. I'm trying to. and it's Luka. That's why we're interested. And they're usually like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. Thank you for the introduction.
You have a plan.
You know,
The support is there.
yeah, the support's always
Some people
there.
don't have a
But
plan.
it's the agents that are like solo or whatever that do that, and then you can't get a hold of them. You're like,
And then,
what the
but then
fuck?
there is some people who will go away with their families, and they just all they care about is being available for their clients, which is fine. That's just how they do things, right?
different styles
And it's like,
of business.
and I don't mind. And now, you know, with my wife and kids too, like they expect some of that. But if I'm with them, I get up early anyways, even if I'm away, so I can usually get all my stuff done within a couple
Prior
of
to
hours
that.
if I choose.
You have your time.
If I choose to, right?
Yeah.
Smart. You
And then
plan
la-
ahead.
I plan ahead, and then later on
Nice.
it'll go. You know,
Some agents don't plan that. That was my pet peeve. I was like, you go on vacation with no
plan.
plan?
You have to,
Fuck, we doing here?
because
Yeah.
as we know, when you leave, that's when all the shit goes down.
Fucking insane.
Busy.
We talked about that. Like, it's fucking sick. I might book a trip tonight.
That's what you said last time. He's like, just leave town. I'm like, honestly, like,
Yeah.
at that
Always.
rate, it's crazy.
Yeah, both of us
Yeah.
went through that before.
It's great.
It's so true.
Actually,
though.
more so you when I left. That one time was ridiculous.
Always happens.
Yeah, Luca was just slammed.
It always
Everything
happens, though.
popped off.
It's
the best.
Always.
When you were in
always.
London, same shit.
Yeah, I went
Well,
to
it's
the
good.
UK and it was like, I don't know the time, I forget, like 6 hours. And it was like, everything's popping off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling you, stay longer.
Fucking
Another fucking
anxiety
week.
through the roof. You're
Well, I
just like,
remembered like being in Miami like 2 years ago and like holding offers one morning, woke up like hungover as fuck.
and you got to
in,
deal.
in bed, like barely alive on my computer, like fingers are barely
Attaboy.
moving, head is pounding, calling agents, and like I was expecting multiple offers. Like one lady's like, I'm submitting for sure. Crickets.
Oh,
Nothing.
Dude, I hate
that. Yeah,
nothing
I
comes
remember
in,
that.
and this was just when they just like announced that they're going to start jacking up the rates. So like just as they started,
Yeah, you're trying to
increasing
roll it
everything.
out. Yeah.
And it was like, man, like we need this place sold. Like they already bought something else, right? And it was just a disaster. I'm like calling people, nobody's picking
And you're
up.
hungover, trying to work. But you're
panicking.
working, though. I
but
like
I'm,
that.
but I'm,
You
but
were
I'm
doing it.
working.
You showed
Yeah.
up.
But I was fucking doing it, but nobody's picking up. And I'm like calling the clients. I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, like we have no fucking offer. But like that was like probably one of the fucking worst fucking
And you
like
feel like a
hangovers
bag.
of time.
Yeah, anxiety.
Because like I was
Of course,
expecting,
that's
like
what happens.
there was
Yeah.
so many showings. And
And
then
you were
I
ready
think
to
like a couple, like the week before, they started like they increased the rates by like a pretty big amount right at the start, and then they announced that like we're gonna keep cranking up the rates, and it was just like,
People just started.
and everything like died off, and we like thankfully somebody came in, and I was a crazy negotiation too. It was like over like 3 days or something like that,
And you're in Miami the whole time?
No, I think I came back for the tail end of it,
It's dusted.
but it was like I bridged, like I got them up like 35 or 40K, like they really wanted the house.
Good for the sellers,
And
man. Good for
so
you.
this is kind of funny too. So the buyers sent a personal letter, and my client's one of those guys that just like, man, like I don't give a fuck if your grandmother died. Like, I don't
Show me the
want
money.
He's like
Yeah.
because of the letter. He's like, I was gonna counter them like at X amount. He's like, counter them 5K higher.
Oh,
yeah. So
Oh, it's
because
one
of
of
the letter,
those.
'cause
I
he's
hate
like,
your letter.
yeah, because he's like, oh, you guys are trying to, you know, like tug on my emotional strings with
Yeah.
your letter. He's like, fuck that. So we ended up countering them higher,
Interesting,
and they
man.
actually like it almost killed the
That's
deal
crazy.
But
Because of
they-
the letter.
because of the letter, and they actually ended up accepting the higher counter. It ended up getting done, but we went back and forth for probably like a day and a half, and like somehow like got the deal done. And we had
Yeah.
absolutely no showings after that. Like we're probably gonna have to do a price drop and
Yeah.
I think like within like 5K of asking, and we were like, and they were initially like 40K under. It was wild.
You know what's a good takeaway from that though for people is that certain things don't always work how you've heard that they work, and you should always, if you're an agent, you should always call the other agent
And see.
prior.
Yeah.
and that's a good question. What's your seller's like personality type to this type of situation? Do you think the
I love
letter will
that.
help?
Yeah.
And most agents will tell you, they'll be like, won't matter, don't waste your time,
Mhm.
or they'll be like, absolutely, right? And then that's an exact example of like what can go
No,
wrong.
you nailed
Oh,
it.
yeah.
That's
Right?
smart. But that also goes back to agents don't call agents anymore.
Yeah.
Like you send an offer, just goes right to your email, and no one's calling you. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love picking up. the
but I
phone.
like that though. It's true because that's a perfect scenario of like everyone
Could
thinks the letter
right?
helps.
They
but
could have not had to pay an extra
Yeah.
5K.
And even funnier than that,
Damn.
when these guys, so sorry, they didn't end up having to buy. So they got into a rental, and they actually bought last year, and it was on Father's Day that I tried
Holiday,
to
of
like
course.
sneak an offer, being like, oh, everybody else is going to be drinking
Yeah,
over with family on Father's Day. Let's try to. I think the property was around 900, offered around 860 to start, and then within like 3 or 4 hours and like an hour of like our offer expiring, like 2 other offers come in.
Yeah.
And we're like,
Classic.
fuck,
Yeah,
fuck,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So Go back to them, and they really wanted the property, right? So we come up once, come up a second time, and these guys write a personal letter that hated getting one. Write the personal letter. We
stay away from Luka.
We ended up being the highest price. And ended up getting the deal. But the seller read the letter, and the other agent told me that his clients were basically in tears, and he was so happy that my clients were going to be the ones getting the house.
You never know.
That may be the best story I've ever heard.
Yeah, so
that's
so
wild.
good.
Yeah.
And
good for you guys,
to
man.
top it all off, I told him to just write like a really nice letter, use ChatGPT to do it.
This is
like
cool.
perfect. Included some of the details. He didn't tell me he did this. He told me after the deal. Told me after the deal closed, and he's like, but by the way, he's like, I used ChatGPT to get that letter. And we both just died laughing, but that was a pretty crazy story actually. So
we gotta get these guys back.
Yeah, you got any?
Oh yeah.
How long has it been?
Just did the letter not long ago. Actually,
How are we looking here? I think we're a little.
Yeah.
Hour 20. Holy, we gotta get these guys on again.
Yeah.
I feel like we do 3 hours with you guys.
We should swap. We'd have to have an intermission.
Yeah, literally.
Smoke break.
We should swap literally intermission. They sit here, we sit there, and they start grilling us.
That'd be good.
That's funny.
That'd be good.
Let's do it, good, boys.
That's great.
That's all. Where can everyone find you? I know you guys have the team.
Yeah, TCMG Realty is pretty much like tcmgrealty.ca. It also goes to our website, Your Home in Ottawa, and anything social media is TCMG Realty.
And you're it's like Luka Maric, you're Greg Campbell.
Yeah.
Your podcast.
Well, he's Luka Maric Holmes. Yeah, I am Gregory Campbell.
Okay. Gregory Campbell.
Yeah. We should have our names. We're not as cool as these guys.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And the podcast too, you can find.
Yeah, the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. It's on weekly 10 a.m. Wednesdays.
So that podcast is more it's more specific to Ottawa real estate, mortgage,
with a little bit of a national touch, but mostly Ottawa specific.
It's you, the realtor, and there's a mortgage broker, right?
Two
if
mortgage
I'm not mistaken.
brokers. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So tune into that. I've actually checked it out a few times. They're a lot smoother.
Yeah, we're off the cuff.
There's no swearing. They go off.
Swearing's
dialed in.
Swearing's key.
Yeah. No, it's been good, guys. I appreciate you guys coming. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
taking the time.
Thanks for having us.
Doing episode
Good to see
2
you.
in 6 months. We're all our boys.
Yeah,
All right.
back.
It's a wrap.